Welcome back to episode 16 of Money Making Mamas podcast.
Mhm.
I'm one of the hosts, Nancy Wallace Lobbs, and I'm joined by
Kelsey Leica.
who is my beautiful daughter. And I'm so happy. Kelsey, I just pat on the back. Episode 16. I know we say this, but
Like almost every time
every time, but it's okay.
it's
So,
like we're shocking ourselves every single time we make it to the next episode.
right. So, it's a little bit rainy here in Dallas today, but that's okay. We've
Yeah.
got it nice and bright in here.
Yeah.
And so, first off, I want to say thank you for
Mhm.
tuning in.
Mhm.
If you're new to our episodes, we are a podcast. We're a mother-daughter duo. We decided to launch Money Making Mamas last year. I've been investing in real estate since 2006, but this podcast is about family and just being in business for yourself and just
I think it's a catch-all sometimes because we
catch-all.
talk about like real estate, we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about funny stories about
Networking,
us, we
yeah.
talk about Coleman coolers.
You're right. If you didn't catch that one. So I do want to say, because we always forget this at the end. So give us a follow, a
Mhm.
like, and share if we're saying something that resonates with you or maybe somebody that you know. So
Yeah. And I think that little key piece, I think we'll touch more on that later.
about the 'cause
Um
we have a good episode
I'm
today.
actually really excited about this one.
Yeah.
So,
But
well, yeah, I was just gonna say we should recap the audience.
yeah, because a lot has happened since our last episode. I mean,
Mhm.
it was a crazy week with
Well,
some
like really a
sadness.
week and a half.
A week and a half, yeah. So we try to film every week, and so this week we weren't planning on
Hmm.
because we were going to take a little mother-daughter trip to our lake house,
We were
and that
actually gonna do a Money Making Mamas retreat.
yeah, Money Making Mama's retreat, and that got all interrupted on Tuesday.
But I think that we
So
should go
yeah, why
backwards.
don't you kind of recap and then bring us up to Tuesday?
All right. So, if you've been listening, you know that we went to Galveston for my daughter's second birthday a couple of weeks ago. And I cannot for the life of me if we talked about this, but I really don't think we did. But basically, we had so I have my dog Cody, who's about 5, and she's a black lab, and then she's like half and half ours. But Kyla, who is a also mixed lab kind of mutt, and she's 9, which we just talked about this. She was my dog. I brought her home. I went to the apartment situation that didn't work out, so she actually went to live with mom for a little while. She came back to me, and then when we had the kids, she kind of started peeing all over the place. So it was not the great. She just wasn't used to kids, and so she's just kind of gone back and forth between. So that's why I joke that she's like both of ours. Anyways, but she's living permanently now with mom, and then mom has a little small dog. His name's Murray. So they all boarded together while we were in Galveston, which I feel like that's kind of rare when like because we went to Tennessee last year and they all boarded together, and then this was the second time. So, anyways,
And they
come
all get along really
and they all
good.
get along really good.
Like
Like
when
they're
they've all been over
mhm,
together, they get along, they don't fight, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. So
So mom picks them up on Saturday. I pick up Cody. Cody doesn't even want to get off the couch. I'm like, what is happening? She's a pretty hyper dog. Cut to look at her paws, and 3 out of her 4 paws are pretty scraped up. Like they're pretty rubbed raw, like, to the pads and all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. So just she kind of just laid around. So that was Saturday. She laid around all day Sunday, and then Sunday I'm like,
and Sunday was Easter, so we couldn't it
oh yeah,
wasn't
Sunday was
so it
Easter.
was like everything was closed, so you couldn't
Yes.
mhm.
So I'm looking at her face Sunday afternoon, and I noticed that right under her whisker area, she's got like a dime-sized bump. I was like, oh, that's weird. And like I can kind of see a scratch, but nothing like alarming. My husband thought he worked in he's like Zach, I always joke he's Zach of all trades because he worked in a vet clinic for like a millisecond in high school, and so he was like, well, it kind of looks like an ingrown hair, like an ingrown whisker. And anyways, so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna make an appointment Monday morning. So I go to the gym. I haven't seen Cody yet because she didn't get off the couch because at this point she's been laying around like whatever. And so I didn't think anything of it. And I call the vet. I'm like, yeah, she's got a little lump, whatever. I should take her in. And you know what I thought of was, do you remember? So Shep, do you remember he had to get stuff removed from
Mhm,
his
yeah, he
mouth?
had,
So I
like,
was like, oh my
molds and things
gosh,
like yeah.
watch us have to go through that. Anyways, cut to I go to pick up Cody at like 9:30 because I had gone to a workout class. Again, I haven't seen her, and all of a sudden her whole face is just swollen. Like all the way to like the half down her neck, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Cut 2. She has an
You're really
infection.
cut 3.
Cut 3. She has an infection. So I was like, oh my gosh. But she got treated all good, all this stuff. It was just like a wound or whatever. And then you tell your side.
All right. So then Kyla, she's like limping around and whatnot. So this is also on Monday. And, I'm like, what is happening? Well, now, so the boarding place, now I've used them for every dog. I've used them for probably over a decade. They're very, very good. So nothing against them. But they had let me know when I picked them up that one of the dogs, and first we thought it was your dog, but it was actually our dog, Kyla. She had ripped off one of her toenails, and so it was all exposed. And so, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to clean it and, bandage it. Because again, it's Sunday and the vet's not open. And
And also, let's be real. It just a walk in the door at vet places
it's like
automatically
$100.
$250.
Yeah. So, and I even have pet insurance. So anyway, so Monday, so I wrap it thinking I'm doing an all good thing or whatnot. Yeah. So don't do that when you're talking because I need to keep her from licking it. Anyway, take her to the vet. $300 later, they cauterized the one that was completely exposed because it was down to her quick. But then she had another nail that was cracked, but there was so much, it was still attached that the only way that they could remove it was to sedate her. And, okay, so we said, okay, no, we'll just let her grow out. So dog moms can relate to this. Okay, so fast forward. So she has to wear a cone. So fast
And
forward a
also, the
week.
cone is not just uncomfortable for dogs, but like they ram into the back of your legs. Like it's
Yeah, because then
everything.
she's all needy and everything. So now Murray's all fine.
Yeah.
So fast forward a week. And so Kyla's just acting so weird on Monday afternoon. And
we had been kind of teetering if we're going to go to the lake because multiple things were happening. Like we had some networking events. We had the rain. We didn't know if it was going to, like, half the time we were here and there, whatever. So we were already teetering.
Yes.
But at this point we were going to the lake.
We were going to leave on Wednesday because I was doing a training for these employees on investing. So so Monday afternoon, she's acting kind of, she's just, and I thought maybe she was uncomfortable. So I took the cone off, right? So Tuesday morning, I have to be in Mansfield, Texas, which is a good hour 15 from my house. And I have to be there by 12 o'clock. So I'm like, okay, I have to leave, 10:30, quarter 11, because you never know about traffic, blah, blah, blah. So she's acting really weird, just like not walking around, just not even getting up, really not eating, having to coax her. So I thought, well, maybe I should call the vet because I was going to wait until I got back, which was going to be about 2 o'clock that day. So I go ahead and call the vet and they're like, well, yeah, you can bring her in like at, I don't know, 11:30, 12. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I have to, this was something that was scheduled many weeks in advance. I could not cancel it. No one else could do it for me. And, anyway, I said, but they said I could drop her off. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to drop her off, and then I'll just pick her up afterwards, because I thought maybe she was uncomfortable because of her nail. Oh my gosh. 20 minutes later, the vet calls me. Life or death situation. She had to have emergency surgery because they had done a X-ray and her entire cavity was filled with blood. So she had some kind of something had ruptured or whatever. Now she's not that old, like sometimes on an older dog you go, because you already know cha-ching, cha-ching, right?
Right.
And we have pet insurance, but it don't cover that. Yeah. Anyway, so, and the other thing is Kelsey had taken the kids to the zoo that day. So it's not like,
I was an hour away too.
I had to decide. So I just go, you know what? We have to try, and she only had a 50-50 chance of surviving the surgery. So I said, okay, go ahead and do it. And so I got home after 2. I hadn't heard from the vet. And I was like, oh my gosh, something happened. And they don't want to call me because they know I'm, not available. Anyway, so she ended up surviving the surgery. What it was is she had a huge tumor on her spleen that had burst. So the vet, when I went to pick her up, she, showed me very graphic pictures, by the way. Anyway, now the next step is to see if it was cancerous or not. So we won't know for another week or 2. But today, so today is Friday. She had the surgery on Tuesday. She actually came home Tuesday. You wouldn't even know something. She got the cone still, but she's eating, she's drinking, she's going to the bathroom. But
it's heavy.
And she couldn't travel. That was it. I told the vet we were leaving the next day. And she's like, "Oh no, you're not."
Yeah,
so,
and she couldn't be around the other
dogs. So Kelsey had to take. Oh my gosh! So I know it's probably a little bit more. So if you're a dog lover, you get it, right? And so it was very emotionally.
It was
draining.
very emotional because you called, and I know that you like wanted to keep me informed, but I'm literally like pulling up in the parking lot when I get the call from you. I'm like crying. Like I definitely saw these women like look because we're all parking, get our kids out.
I think it's but you know what? It's a good segue into what we want to talk
Yes.
about tonight
Yes. So,
because it's kind of about things happen, you feel down, and we're talking about it and we can really relate because we know Kyla. If you're a cat person, you're like, whatever.
well, and let me just okay, so yes, going into that, I thought it would be a really good conversation to talk about today because Kyla, so we tell all of this because Kyla and Cody, like obviously they're dogs, part of our family, but personally in our household, that I'm not going to go into details about, but I've had a lot going on. So Kyla was kind of the cherry on top, right?
Hmm.
And so then, we were talking about what should we talk about today, and I think a great topic to discuss would be kind of just support in general when you are, and I'm not talking about like, yes, of course, like support when you're going through these life moments, but support when you're starting a business or you're
Yeah.
starting a entrepreneurship or you're starting your own journey. And we joke all the time it's lonely at the top. We were even joking about naming this, and by no means are we at the top or anything like that, but
The journey on the way to the top, though.
is yes, and like really what is the top and all this stuff. And so but I think and also too we went to the diversity or the networking event this week, and the one of the speakers that came, her name's Jackson, and she for those that are in Frisco, Texas, Plano area, it's Minnie's Food
Pantry.
Pantry. Yeah. She
She's the
opened
founder.
She's the founder, and she's just got an amazing, amazing story. And anyway, she came to the networking event and just kind of talked a little bit and really just talked about, you know, serving others and all that. So we'll jump more into that later. But and then I thought, well, I'm just gonna wear one of my favorite sweatshirts. So I don't know if I know our listeners, but our viewers, if you can see this, it says "Do Good." And so I don't know. I just thought it would be a good topic of conversation today to talk about just support in general, and hopefully, those listening, if you're kind of struggling with maybe you don't feel supported in certain areas of your life, that hopefully maybe this will be encouraging.
Yeah. And so I want to start with like support from, when you make the decision that you want to, like you quit your job. I've been an entrepreneur, doing my own thing for many, many years now. And, people don't get that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people that you think you're the closest to that, you feel like should love you and support you no matter, they don't get it either.
Yeah.
And they're not as supportive as you would think. And now I'm a little older, so I've had my feelings probably hurt a little bit more, but
Mhm.
my family,
Yeah.
they're like, what do you mean what does that even mean? They don't understand what being a real estate investor is, how I
Yeah.
make money, because they're just used to, going to work 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever it is, having benefits, working until you retire. And so like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't
Well,
even listen to the podcast.
yeah.
My sister, I won't say what she said, but when we first launched it, I was like, I was really excited and I showed them, and they're like, well, what are you going to talk about? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, whatever we feel like talking about or whatever.
Yeah.
And, so I asked my sister the other day, I was like, so she asked me, she goes, well, are you still doing that podcast? Like she made it sound like we
Yeah.
just did one. And I
Yeah.
said, yeah. And I go, well, have you listened to it? And does she give you do you have any feedback for us? Because we always want to do better.
Yeah.
And so the feedback that she gave us was about one of our, I don't know, pictures or something like that. And I was like, okay, you haven't listened to it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about what we're saying, not what
Exactly. And I think that's like the biggest, like that's the first biggest thing, right? Is like you're like people around you might not understand what you're doing. Why did you decide to start a podcast? Why did you start to invest in real estate? Like, why didn't you just do a sourdough baking company or like, things like that or whatever it is. And it's, for me, I'm very much the type of person that I believe in the person. And if that's the venture that they want to go on, then like, obviously they know what they're doing, or like maybe not know what they're doing. Like, okay, when we started this podcast, we had no idea what we're doing. And here we are 16 episodes later, which is really cool to talk about because that's our own personal achievement. And we've obviously, because same boat, friends and family, like I've sent the links to, and
and they're like,
let's
yeah.
be real.
I mean, okay,
Let's just talk about our own husbands.
yeah, they don't listen to it. But I will say, I was just going to say, they're both very supportive of
Yes.
us being solo entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But talk about how a stranger came up to you at the networking event the
Well,
other night.
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Like, yeah, it's frustrating. Okay, so like, it's frustrating if maybe you have friends or family that, okay, you're not necessarily starting a podcast, but in our instance, like we started a podcast, right? And we have friends and family that haven't listened to it. And it is what it is. Like, we're doing this ultimately for us and to help other moms out there. And so if, Zach,
And it's fun for us.
and it's
We're
fun
doing it
for
because we're
us.
having fun.
Yeah, but it was really rewarding when someone at the networking event
We
came up
did not
to
know.
and he purposely and stopped me and he was like, "Hey, FYI, I listened to your podcast about your episode about networking." And I was like, "Oh my gosh," I like dragged you over and I was like, "Wait, tell more." And cuz that was just really rewarding to hear and we both asked him, "Well, was it helpful?" And he was like, "Yeah, it like really helped prepare me for this networking event." And it's those moments where it's like, okay, we're helping others,
Yeah, we are
and
having an
that's what it's
impact.
about.
And I got a shout out at our chamber event where a real estate agent, she's been in the business for well over 20 years, and she gave the podcast a shout out, and me in particular, about things that she had learned about real estate investing that she had never even heard of. And now
Right.
she's partnering with me on our pre-probate training that we're doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just you never know what kind of impact you're going to have. And
Right.
it's not like we're sitting here getting kudos about, oh, hey, glad you're doing that
Right.
podcast. We're not. We're just like, okay, who's watching the dogs? Who's watching the kids?
Yeah,
What-
yeah, yeah. And so, we kind of rag on the husbands, but they are helping us in the fact of like Zach is watching the kids right now, even though he does work his, 8 to 5, and Brian's also watching the dog. So they are supportive in that realm. And I think that's where also support comes in. Maybe someone's not listening to it, but I ask Zach all the time, like, just download an episode. Like that's helpful, right? And I joke, he has listened to like a couple bits here and there. Um but at the end of the day, it's for, this podcast first and foremost is something for us. And I think we talked about that in one of the very first episodes. But then if we can help at least a couple people out there, that's what makes me feel good. And so I think
exactly.
that even though, so this is one of the first topics that we're bringing up, even though we don't have that direct support from family and friends, does that change the relationship with them? I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to force anybody to listen to our podcast. But at the end of the day, I just want to help people.
Yes.
And
And
so,
to give back. And I think,
mhm,
what we talk about, like, okay, the dogs, I mean, people can relate, but, I've always felt very strongly like if you're going to be in business for yourself, one of the greatest things you can do for your business is to give back. Number one, it makes you feel good
mhm,
and it gives purpose to what you're doing. So I wrote the book Winning Deals and Heels, and I had always wanted to write a book,
mhm,
but I also want to give back. So I purposely picked a charity, which is Hope Store here in Plano, Texas. It's a nonprofit organization that helps families heal from domestic violence. So when you go to Amazon and you order Winning Deals and Heals, part of the proceeds actually goes to Hope Store. Now,
mhm,
as money making mamas, we've been looking for a charity, and
mhm.
so I think we've settled on one because of.
We're
We're going to talk
gonna
about that.
finalize
Okay,
that and
okay.
then, later on address that.
Yeah, but
But yeah.
and so part of what we do is we do give back. And so we also volunteer our time like at events, like in the community. We're going to be doing one in a couple weeks that's for
Mhm,
moms.
mhm,
And it's like we're going to be there just taking part of our time. And it is time away from our family, but we also feel like we're giving back into the community to help
mhm.
other moms. So,
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, when we, started everything with Money Making Mamas, it really was just to support moms. And like, as long as I'm doing that at the end of the day, like, I feel good because
mhm.
again, like, so, we go back to family, but I have family that, they've done entrepreneurship journeys and I've been there to support them and has it been reciprocated? No. And I feel like it's because maybe they don't understand what we're doing and that's okay. Like it is what it is. As long as
'Cause it's not
I
a
know,
product. We're not making candles or we're not
yeah,
making bread,
yeah.
I think it's harder when you have a service.
Exactly. And as long as I know that I'm helping a mom get more time with her family and also feel a little bit more financially stable about their future, then I feel good about that. And so
Mhm.
I think when you're starting your journey, whatever that journey that is, as long as you know your purpose, stick with that and like ultimately let that be your driving force, not the support that you think you should be getting from other people. You should just, am I help, we look at some of our students and our moms in our courses and how much they've told us, oh my gosh, you've helped break this down so much. I thought real estate investing was such a beast, and here we are. And that's rewarding. And so I think if you're struggling, not feeling support from your inner circle, um, just remember why you're doing everything. And like, I think that that'll help you feel that support.
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about this in more detail when in one of our upcoming episodes, but I'm going to tell the story about partnering with the funeral home because I learned something that's just heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually um, work with families that have needs after someone has passed.
Right.
And now I used to volunteer for hospice and
Mm-hmm.
my dad went through all of that and everything. So I ended up through networking
Mm-hmm.
meeting this lady. And so a lot of networking is about building relationships.
Yeah.
It's not about you have to be a giver, not a taker.
Right.
So I was talking about one of the services that we provide through real estate investing, how we help families that they can avoid probate costs,
Right.
right? And so I was getting, and it turns out she owns funeral homes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I don't think I've ever even known this, that some families can't pay
Mm-hmm.
for the funeral services.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because,
what?
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like I think for a cremation, it's around $5,000, and to have a full-on burial, with the casket and everything, is around $15,000. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes families, and we're talking about kind of an economic downturn right now. I mean, things are getting better, but sometimes people don't have money to pay for that.
Right.
So
Right.
she was saying that becomes a hardship for families, and so now they've already lost a loved one. So I was telling her about how we could assist those families and
Yeah.
also her,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Are you? That's amazing."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talk about services and like serving others, and again to talk about Cheryl, I just loved her message so much, and she's really amazing. We'll definitely drop her information below because I think she's just a really amazing person to just hear and listen to, and again her story is really something else. So but one thing that she talked about when we were at this networking event was, you mentioned earlier networking, and it should be about building relationships. And it shouldn't be about, well, I need something from you. Like, I'm just going to be a taker, 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 right? It's this game of like, you don't want to be known as give and take person, right? And so it's all about building relationships and also asking, well, how can I serve you? How can I help you? And so I think that's kind of what you're touching on a little bit of, with the pre-probate classes, like, yes, it's to also help realtors build leads, which we'll talk more about that, in next episode. But it's also like you're helping the families that have lost a loved one and, helping them down that route. And so I think one thing when you are a small business owner, yes, it's easy to get wrapped up in like thinking about yourself and like, how can I build my business? But when you go up to someone, it should be like, well, how can I serve you? How can I help you? How could we work together? Like things like that. And one thing that I think that is so overlooked that it just blows my mind that people just, and it kind of goes back to like, well, okay, or like our podcast, we wish more people would listen to it. That's in our inner circle, right? Well, social media. Like, let's be real, this day and age, you get a lot of leads from social media, and it doesn't cost anything to like and follow and share whatever it is. And I can't, again, family members that I thought would be there for me when I started this avenue with you, and like they might not understand it, but it's like, okay, like it doesn't cost anything to like the post.
Mhm.
Just when you've reciprocated the same thing. And so, it is frustrating when it's like as a small business owner, that's, you just want that, but also you just got to put yourself out there too and just
Exactly. You
and
have to
just
it's a little bit of a risk. I am going to play devil's advocate because, like if my sisters liked our stuff, they're not really our ideal client, right? And if
I
we're
know,
going to
but
talk about lead
well, I know, but
generation.
it also helps. Well, no, I do get that, but it also helps. But the more people, the more engagement
Yes.
you have, yes, it might be from your inner circle, but okay, that inner circle, it's like Instagram is check marking them. And so then it's like, okay, we'll send
It's
it out to
helping the
them.
algorithm, whether you know it or not, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I do agree with that. And so it's like, and I don't know. So part of it is like, I just go, okay. And I don't, it's kind of funny because then you end up not talking about it with those people because they're not supportive
Yes.
and they're more judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't feel bad. So
No.
that's the message, right?
And hold
You
on,
should
really.
expect it
Yes.
and don't feel bad about it. Just as you're networking, you're going to find
Yeah.
people that go, wow. Like
Yeah.
all the time when you and I go out, you can't go out with me as much as I go out and network. But what happens when you go out? Who do they want to talk to? They don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to the money making mama because you're the face of the
Yeah.
company. Or I might have all the knowledge. I've been doing it for a long time, but let's get real. And actually, Cheryl, who has an amazing story, and we can follow her on Instagram. And I would highly recommend you guys check her out. Cheryl, it's Action Jackson, right, on
I
Instagram.
believe so, yeah.
She didn't really, I mean, she was nice to me and everything, but she connected with Kelsey, and she was very impressed that what she said resonated with Kelsey because she was like, she felt like she was reaching the younger people
Mhm.
with her
No, it
messaging.
was crazy. Like, I did really appreciate meeting Cheryl, and it was definitely worth being out that night,
Hmm.
not putting the kids to bed and whatnot, and like hearing from her. And yeah, she was
Plus, I think it was
really,
the boost that you needed because sometimes as a mom
yeah.
and you're with the kids all the time, especially a stay-at-home mom,
Hmm.
you have struggles sometimes that I don't. I have a little bit more freedom
Yeah.
but I think that you needed to hear her
Well,
message.
and what's interesting is, so one thing that I really enjoyed hearing her say was, you help others and then your help will come. And it's kind of leading with that gratitude again, leading with do good. And I've been personally so wrapped up in my own household. Like I said, there's been a lot of things going on, and it truly, and it's funny that it's raining right now, but it truly does feel that, like that season when it rains, it pours, and dang, is it like
Right.
flooding at
It's
my
fun.
house.
But you know what? I
But
think
I've been,
after that, you like had this lightness about
no,
I saw it.
yeah, so I was just saying that, like, I feel like I've been so wrapped up in my own, like, kind of mind about where I've been at with it in life that I haven't really been leading lately with, oh, how can I help and things like that. And so it was really good, just reminder of
Hmm.
why we got into this, of like, and why um we're doing Money Making Mamas. So it was just nice to hear from her. So again,
Yeah.
we'll drop all of her information because she was
Yes.
really nice.
And support Minnie's Pantry. So
But uh there was something else I was gonna talk about, and now I'm like blanking.
well, can I bring up a topic then that I think a lot of women struggle with is imposter syndrome.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Wait,
put a
hold that
pin in that,
thought.
pin in that.
Pin in that.
Okay, have you started reading that Let Them book yet?
I have read some of it. I do like it. I haven't gotten very far though.
Okay, so if you haven't heard about Let Them, okay, because
It's
I
by
think
Mel
it's
Robbins.
by Mel Robbins. And I feel like a lot of people have heard about it, but if you haven't, definitely look at this book. I think that this also helped change my mindset about just living your life in general. But basically, the premise of this book is just talking about how it's like, I mean, it's a little bit of a self-help book, but it's also like just a motivational kind of. But ultimately, you can't control other. It's a good reminder of just you can't control other people's actions. So if someone's not going to support you in your business, if they're not going to understand your business, okay, then let them. Like, you know what I mean? And just saying those two words of just let them, like, I can only control my actions. So you can sit there and say let them not listen to anything, let them not like my post, let them not understand whatever it is.
But don't let
But
them give you negativity
well,
that comes in.
no, so I was going to say you control the part of your action next.
Yeah.
So exactly, like you're not going to let them bring that negativity in your life, but you'll move forward with actions that only support yourself or
Right.
support others around you. So it's just a really good book to
Yes.
read.
And I think too that if that happens, maybe, everybody in your family's not, then you have to find your own I don't want to use tribe, but you want to find like, I don't know, there's a lot of uh entrepreneur, solo. And, entrepreneur just means, you're not working for anyone else. You're working for yourself.
Yeah.
You're saying your own time. And, maybe you need a little motivation. And when you have downtime, when you have a down day, when you're
Mhm.
feeling down, what things are you doing? Like I know for me, when I have a down day, I might go through McDonald's. Not every day, but, I mean, sometimes I do go through McDonald's. It's not good for me, but you know what? I like it
Mhm.
because I used to eat McDonald's when I was a kid. Or I might go see my grandkids.
Mhm.
Or you know what? I might pick up the phone. Like I had something really nice happen earlier today. And, somebody gave me a really nice compliment that it was like completely out of the blue just because
Mhm.
I had helped them years ago.
Mhm.
Right. And I was like, oh, and she actually called me today, or I called her. That's what it was. I called her And my phone, and this is someone I met like 15 years ago, and she saw my number pop up, and I was still in her phone.
Mhm.
So she's like, "Oh, it's so good to hear from you." So I was like, "Oh, dang, I made the test of time." I always started like when I was 3, but
Mhm.
yeah.
No, I think that's also good. I feel like, we talk about how, like, if you don't feel supported, what you can do, but also what can you do to support others, and like I said, like the social media stuff, I think that's a good thing too. Like, that felt so refreshing for that guy to come up to us and be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
your episode was," because here I am like, "Oh, we're talking to air."
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
like
Like,
validation that somebody out there has
yeah,
got something from one of our episodes,
so
right?
I was just gonna say, like, so if you feel like something has, like, helped you, then, like, let that person know, because I guarantee that will make them their
So
day.
hint, hint, if you found something useful in one of our podcasts, go ahead and just say, "Yeah, that was good," because sometimes we'll get some weird like we got a weird did you see that weird comment that we got about somebody's Bitcoin? It's like, okay, I think that's a spam. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
I
they're
can't
just
help you with that.
robots,
So, all
yeah.
right, so now can we move into imposter
Okay, yes,
syndrome?
now we take that pen out, let's move into
Okay,
imposter
so the
syndrome.
reason I bring it up is because when I was reading one of my statistics, um like imposter syndrome stops women in particular, I'm sure men could be affected, but women 70% of the time from pursuing entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's huge. And I
Mhm.
think women, and I'm probably guilty of as we are our own worst critics,
Yeah,
and we never think we're good enough.
yeah,
We never think we're gonna be there. Like when we were talking about, if we name this like at the top, well, what is the top? Because I'm,
right,
like, okay, well, when's enough? When's
right.
enough? How many podcasts do you have to do? But I think
Do you think
women,
there's a top?
I don't. I mean, because you know what I think it is that as long as you enjoy something, like I have a friend, she retired years ago, and she goes, "When are you going to retire?" I was like, you know what? I really love what I do
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm helping people, and I have so much variety.
yeah.
So I'll be, probably on my deathbed still doing podcasts with my daughter because I enjoy it. It's fun. We're
Yeah,
having
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, no, I was just
Um,
gonna say, because I think that a
Doing
lot of,
analytics, I won't be.
yeah. Because I think that, like, you could easily sit there and be like, "Oh, the top is, like, making millions and billions of dollars," but if you're, so unhappy or if you're lonely,
Yeah, but
is
if
that
you
really
love
at the
giving
top?
back, I mean,
Like,
if you love giving back, then
yeah.
for me, I love the idea that I can like, you know, like now we have grandchildren. It's like, okay, well, I could help them,
Mhm.
pay for college, get a car, go on a trip or something like that,
Right.
or, help them get financially started, I think
Mhm.
is a really good
Oh,
thing.
which, speaking of, we talked about money mindset, talking with your kids. I
Yes.
wanted to say this really quick. This is a complete sidebar. We'll go back to the 70%
Okay.
in a second. But I saw a thing today that said that the perfect age to start talking about finances with your kids is between 3 and 5.
There you go.
And
Perfect.
so, and it just really, it, and talking about it not in a negative sense or a positive sense, talking about it as a tool.
Mm.
And so I thought that was really interesting because we had just talked about
We
that.
did. That was our wasn't that our last episode? No, last episode was on wholesaling and we so it was episode 14, right?
Yeah, so I think that was just really cool to see that. So if you haven't heard, we did 2 episodes back. We did a talking to your kids about money and
Yeah.
money mindset and all that. So, anyways, back to imposter
So,
syndrome,
but I
70%.
think women, we compare ourselves. Like, are we wearing the right clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the right this? We have the right that. And I think we get stuck
Yeah.
because we don't think we're good enough.
And can I just say,
Yes,
this
do.
is probably very personal, but it is what it is. Women can relate. But when we, like, emotionally get into a place of, like, such self-doubt, I mean, it really, like, takes over. Like, I mean, it takes some work to get out of that place, because so I've been strength training for a long time. I thought about doing powerlifting, and then, a certain thing happens, and then you're like, well, no, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Why did I ever think? And it's just crazy to dig yourself out of that. It takes a lot of work.
Well, let's just talk about aging
Mhm.
because, our such society is based on like what you look like, and especially, okay, in real estate, like real estate as like let's say a realtor or whatever, we joke all the time about, okay, is that your headshot? Is that, and I'm overdue for a headshot, right? But, our face, in a lot of instances, like podcast or whatever. So for me personally, as I started to age, I really I struggled with that. That was hard. And so, fortunately, I had a very good friend that was older than me. So the trick to aging gracefully and aging with confidence
Mhm.
is to cultivate women that are older than you,
Mhm.
because then that you kind of admire, and that's what I did. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I can be like that. And now I think it's more acceptable. I will say that they just had, poor Bill, that guy that used to the Patriots coach or whatever, and he's like his wife is like, or girlfriend or whatever is like 48 years younger. I
I have
mean,
no idea who you're talking about.
it's some well he's the Patriots coach, I think, and I don't know. I'm not a big sports person, but they just had it on the news because he's getting made fun of
Yeah,
because
what happened? I don't know what
so
happened.
he was on an interview and I think she's 24, but there's a 48-year, almost
Oh,
50-year difference in their age. So people are like criticizing them all over the place, right?
yeah.
Because, and she's beautiful and whatnot. And he was on an interview, and it could be all for stage, but they're doing, different photo shoots. Like he's on the beach and she's in a
Mhm.
mermaid outfit. And, like people are saying, well, she's, after his money. He's famous. She's not. She will be after this. But she was interrupting an interview he was having. And so it was all over the news and whatnot. So I don't even know how we got on that. I guess because
You're
about
just talking about
aging.
aging.
Yeah,
Which I
aging.
mean you're talking about aging gracefully and whatnot. Well, I feel like for me, and especially in my corporate career, I got told so many times I just sound so junior.
Yes.
And that was a really frustrating thing because it's like I understand I say like, and now that I've probably said it out there, people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Kelsey, how many times do you say it?" But it is actually a really there's a ton of articles on it about how like can be used multiple ways in multiple sentences. And I understand it doesn't whatever. There's a topic around that. But anyways, I got told a ton of times that I just sounded junior and I was too young, even though I had been working for the company 5
And you
years.
actually, but even though that's true, you sounded young. Your
But I grew
work
it.
ethic
Yeah,
was
right.
so good that you got promoted over and over again.
But I mean, that did come into, I mean, it still does today. I'll be around a certain, like, in a certain environment and be like, well, I'm too young for all of this, or I'm just seen as a baby in this environment. And that does, like, age is such a hard thing to,
It
it's like,
is.
no, I'm about to be
Well, I think
32.
now my age, I hope, now I'm seeing with younger people because it's all about respect, really,
Mm-hmm.
and not being full of yourself. But now I have wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe my beauties fade a little bit. I still think
No,
I'm kind of a hot
never,
mama, right? But,
never.
you know,
A
but
hot Nana.
but it's how you present yourself and you carry yourself and your word.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing what you say, helping people, giving back,
Yeah.
knowing as because at the end of the day, it's about being transparent,
Mm-hmm.
being authentic,
Yeah.
right? More than anything, because um, I'm sure everybody can relate to the Kardashians. I mean, they're all beautiful, they have lots of money, but are they really real?
Yeah.
I mean, they've made their
Like, what's at the
the
center?
core,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And because we know a lot about them, but we don't really know a lot about their charities. That I'm sure they do support charities.
Right.
Um, and I think that maybe we should all focus on giving back more
Mm-hmm.
and being more authentic and
And
really
giving back, just like treating others, doing good,
doing good.
you know?
There should be a thing, instead of just do it, just do it good.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
coining that, Nike.
Yeah, I think it's just yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just again how you go about I think how you go about things will reflect what you get. So,
Yes.
if you're leading with like a good heart, if you're leading with good intentions, if you're leading with how can I serve others, I think that all comes back to you.
Yes. And you
Um,
can't, and I think that what we're really saying is at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself.
mhm,
You have to believe in your own, whatever it is, whatever product you want to get out there, whatever service you want to provide. You have to be transparent. You have to be authentic. In our next podcast, we're going to talk about lead generation, how to make sales out of all of that. But you have to be passion. Because I think when people talk to me about real estate investing, one thing that they say, they can tell that I'm very
mhm,
passionate about it.
mhm.
Because I could talk your ear off, and I know a lot,
Yeah,
right? I don't maybe not know everything, but I know a lot.
you do.
So,
I think also too, like going back to just support in general, like if you're not feeling supported, at the end of the day, do you believe what you're doing in? And like I think that that's what makes a good like salesperson too. Like that's what they always talk about is you have to believe what you're selling.
hmm
And like that might be old school sounding and oh, just all about the money, but there is something behind that too. It's like, okay, I get it. Like you might feel like this journey is like just a huge weight on you because you don't have that support around you, or maybe people have talked bad about whatever you're doing. Like if you, I mean, for me, it was like, well, real estate investing, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, don't you have to flip houses all the time? Like, but it's like, no, 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 no. Like, and sometimes it's just straight up because they don't understand. So then that's an opportunity to like say like, no, it's actually, you can do so much more without having a hammer in your hand.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately at the end of the day, do you believe in what you're doing and let that overcome over what people, because again, we've both talked about families. I mean, um, the support is not 100% there. Do we wish it was? Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. Like, let them. But I believe in what we're doing, and so that's what's fueling me.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just want to add to that, if people are struggling with all of that, is that you have to believe in what you have, and you have to have a why behind it.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it's not, okay, I could create the perfect plant.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't feel anything towards that, how does that benefit people? So I always come at it like, what how can I make someone else's life better based on what I'm providing? Like, I met a lady, she's got like mommy and candles or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what she does is she helps moms through
Mm-hmm.
sense of the candle, the relaxing, and just a whole it was a different take on aromatherapy because it was through candles. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. I like that idea." Um and it's just believing in yourself and believing what you have to offer, and then focusing on giving back. Now, I do want to say with all of that that it's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to just wake up and, sell 100 candles,
Right.
which we're going to talk about, but but
Yeah.
we're going to talk about how you can sell 100
Yeah.
candles. But I think first you have to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And on those days when you don't feel like you have the support, hopefully you either have some other way to support yourself and believe
Yeah.
in yourself.
Yeah. So I know we've talked a lot about like support in general, like you might not be getting it from your inner circle, or how you could support other businesses, and again, leading with like a good heart and how you can serve others. But let's talk about boundaries
Yes.
and maybe, the reality check of your support. So first, what does support look like to you? So for you, I would just like, I'm curious, what would you say support looks like for you for money making mamas?
So, can I just tell a little story?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a story. It's not very flattering, and I probably did a lot of stuff. So, a few years ago, I was gonna put together an educational seminar, and I was all excited about it. I thought it was like gonna be a good thing, and so I asked a few of my friends that we're all on the same. We've all been in the business the same amount of time, and
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, would you guys like want to do this?" "Oh yeah, that sounds like a really great idea." And I was like, "Cool." And we had several meetings, and we planned out the agenda, and we were so close to getting it that I put deposits down on a keynote speaker and on the
Mm-hmm.
venue and everything. Only for all of that to fall apart. I lost money
Mm-hmm.
because my boundaries were, I didn't set hard deadlines like, okay, I need this, this, and this. Number two, I didn't set the expectation. So I think I had it in my head, oh, this will be like a great thing.
Right.
And so I didn't communicate what I needed, right? And so in the beginning, I felt let down and, a little betrayal and like I was out money. But then I reflected on it and I was like, sometimes when we think we want support, we did not communicate what it is we needed
Right.
and when we need it.
Right.
So,
And what kind of
and what
support?
kind of support. So I think we have to be real. Like if we want our like now, like let's just take my sisters as an example. Say, sisters, I want you to download an episode and like it.
Right.
And they just don't. They just
Yeah.
like, you know what? I didn't like how your hair looked or what,
Right.
that was the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, I said my piece. I
And
got to move on and let it go, right?
yeah.
But then I get encouraged when someone from a complete stranger comes up and says, "Oh, hey, I got a couple nuggets from your networking podcast. Thank you so much." So that means more to me than,
Right.
that overrode, right? So
Right.
I guess it's like a balancing act. So if you have a negative thing, so I'm not going to go back to my sisters and ask them anymore because I know that that's going to just be negative
Mm-hmm.
feedback for me. So I'm not going to let them.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I am going to open myself up in a networking environment or to other people. And I tell everybody, hey, did you know that we launched a podcast? Like the lady I was talking about earlier, that she had kept my phone and I hadn't seen her. We had a mutual friend pass away many years ago, and that's the last time I saw her. So it was like
Mhm.
almost, it's over 10 years now. And I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I mean, I know her, I watched her child grow up via Facebook. She
Mhm.
watched you grow up via Facebook. We still had each other's numbers in there. We're acquaintances, right?
Mhm.
I was like, oh, by the way, Kelsey and I ended up launching a podcast. She was like, oh my gosh, so when you have that kind of thing, so, sometimes when your family or your close friends don't support you. It might seem like they don't support you, but really what it is it might be disguised as that they care. They think maybe you're taking a big risk.
Mm.
And so they don't know that their concern is not coming off. It's coming off as criticism and
Yeah.
judgment, when in reality, they might just be worried that, oh, well, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
Or, now it could be that they just don't have any faith in you.
Yeah. Yeah, so then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, have you outgrown your circle?
And,
And I'm not saying like cut off family or anything like that,
It's just
but
saying you have to learn, for your own, like once you've gotten the feedback, you take
Mhm.
it for what it is, you take it from the source, and then you put it aside if it's
Yep.
negative, right?
Yeah.
You don't let it determine, oh, I'm not going to be successful.
Right. Right.
Because you can be successful. And if you need support, you have to find, I mean, it does sound kind of cliche-ish, but you do have to find a tribe.
Yes.
You have to find like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I'm even saying, like, on Facebook, like there's a couple of Facebook groups I'm part of, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much drama in here. So you have to make a decision about what you're going to let in and what you're going to let go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And like ask yourself like what kind of support do you want? Because it's funny because I mean, I think that we're similar on our supports, but one of my supports is okay, yeah, you might not like this might not be for you. Real estate investing might not be, but when the opportunity presents itself to someone that you're talking to, you refer us.
Mm.
And that's another thing too, because then that one that shows like that you have faith in me, but also too, it's like, oh, you're still thinking of me. Because I mean, like, yeah, like again, I'm not going to go into details, but there's several times I've made referrals to my people that have had entrepreneur business and like tried to be there. It's like, yeah, that might not be for me. Like your service might not be for me, but that's again how else I can show it.
Mm-hmm.
And like just again, it goes back to that free support. But yeah, I think just having those boundaries up and like also this is more on me. I feel like one of my flaws, whatever, is that I am definitely a people pleaser. And so I had to set some boundaries of like, okay, well, I'm putting all this support out and all this like, you know, all all this faith in these people, but they're not reciprocating it to me. They're not going to change. So I need to change. So then I need to put some boundary walls up of like, okay, maybe I'm not as supportive.
Yeah,
You know what
and
I
and
mean?
maybe you have to reframe what their messages are about. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think a lot of times as women, we take it to heart.
Yes.
Like, and I think I'm not jaded. It's just that I have had my feelings hurt more times than I have cared, because I'm not saying more faith in people than I should, but I didn't know how to set boundaries. And
Yeah.
that stems from like just, how I was raised.
Right, right.
Like we had no boundaries. And so you have to learn that. And in business, and even you and I had to have that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to work with family,
Yeah.
and so I think we are so much better communicators
Yeah.
because we said, okay, we're going to be in business together,
Yeah.
but there are times when I need to be a mom and you need to be a daughter,
Yep.
and sometimes we need to be business partners,
And
right?
having those, yeah, yeah. No, that, and again, if you are curious about going into business with your family, we did it, I don't know, it's one of our very first few episodes, but we did a conversation about how to go into business with basically mom and daughter and kind of the outcomes that we uh or the things that we would address and things that we ran into and how do we work together now, because I think we work pretty well together.
Yeah. And I think our relationship as a mother-daughter has improved,
I think so too. I was
bec
just thinking about this last night.
because I think because we've learned to communicate and set boundaries,
Yeah.
you know?
So it's funny that we're talking about all of this because, again, if you go back, there's a pretty funny story about us having to go to therapy like a long time ago. And
Because we
so,
did not communicate.
but one thing that, shoot, I forget her name, but one thing that she told us,
Delane.
Delane, was duck feathers. And if you haven't heard of that, it's duck feathers are meant for water just to bead off and like roll off of them. And so like just to have your duck feathers on. And so, kind of wrapping this episode up, I hope that, this, I feel like it's been kind of all over the place, but I hope that at the end of the day, at the end of this episode, that you feel a little bit encouraged if you are going down just some kind of journey, entrepreneurial, whatever, real estate investing, you're baking sourdoughs, you're making t-shirts, I don't know what it is, but if you're doing something on your own and you feel on your own, I hope that you're not on your own.
And I'm
And you're
just going to
not
do a
the only
shout out
one.
to if you don't know where to go. We know a lot of different
Mhm.
resources, so drop us a line. And
Yeah.
if you're an entrepreneur, solo, or you're just trying to figure out, I'm just going to make a shout out to SCORE again. We'll be
Yeah.
talking about it more, but there's an organization called SCORE, SCORE. It's completely free. It's nationwide. And they have mentors for free. These people know what they're doing. There's marketing, there's how to write a business plan, whatever. And sometimes that's a good place to start because maybe you don't even know, like you have an idea and you don't even know, and you can't talk to anybody because
Right.
everybody keeps shutting you down.
Yeah.
Boom. Go online, look up SCORE, and you will find so many webinars about starting a
Yeah.
business and writing a business plan and getting a mentor in your area. You will be amazed at the resources that are
Yeah.
out there. And
Mhm.
again, you can always drop us a line and we don't know everything. We know how to point you in the right direction
Right,
though.
right.
So, but yeah,
Definitely.
Kelsey, I thought this was so much fun.
Yeah, I thought this was a good episode. And again, I hope that just one person out there feels encouraged and
I feel encouraged.
I feel
I
encouraged.
feel encouraged. So, and
Um
give back. Do good.
do good.
Just do good.
Just do good. And obviously we're talking about support, so we will just ask that if you like this episode, please give it a like. If you
And
feel like
share.
yeah, if you feel like another mom or someone that would benefit from hearing this, send it to them. We'd so appreciate it. And as always, drop a comment and follow us on all the socials.
Yay. Sounds
Anything
good.
else?
All right. I got it. No, I'm ready to go on to the next one. So,
All right.
all
Love
right.
you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.